I've got bad news for all of you. Got really bad news for all of you. We're watching female Paul Joseph Watson, and no, it's not a coincidence that her last name is Watson. In fact, it is almost a divine sign of how they both have annoying British accents. I don't care if she's Australian, sounds British to me. They're all the same, not American, and what isn't American is bad. I'm sorry. I'm just a proud American who doesn't like foreigners, okay? If you're from the Britbonger countries of New Zealand and Australia and Britbonger land, then I'm gonna make fun of you. Has she also harassed someone in DMs? Yeah, she's up in my DMs all the time. Like, she keeps on asking me if I think she's a MILF on Twitter in the DMs. It's very odd. So yeah, just like Paul Joseph Watson, she also harasses people in the DMs, you know? That's a joke, by the way, for legal reasons. That's a joke. Clipped? Yeah, clipped. All right. So Sydney Watson made a video, and I have not seen it yet. We're watching it entirely because of the title and the thumbnail. And it's called Teaching White Kids to Hate Themselves to Fight Racism. And because I've become so familiar with conservative talking points, I already know this video is going to be about critical race theory. Critical race theory is now the new boogeyman that the right is stirring up because they have to keep on. There always has to be something. There always has to be some end of the world fucking threat for conservatives to be upset about. But it can't be something that's actually an end of the world threat that exists, like climate change, because it has to be something that helps make the world more racist, you know? So for those of you guys that don't know, let's look up critical race theory. Critical race theory, or CRT, is a body of legal scholarship and an academic movement of civil rights scholars and activists in the United States that seeks to critically examine U.S. law as it intersects with issues of race in the U.S. and to challenge mainstream American liberal approaches to racial justice. That more or less spells it out pretty well. Now, I want to make it very clear. Very fucking clear. There are some dumb fucks out there. There are some dumb fuck libs out there that have had some pretty fucking terrible takes that they try to say is critical race theory. Who else was it? The author of White Fragility? That one awful fucking book? Awful shit. Not actual critical race theory. None of what they describe in that, in none of what these people describe in their academic literature, which is awful, by the way, even falls within the definition of critical race theory. But let's go ahead and hear Sydney Watson probably bring up those exact examples that everyone agrees are bad, even like people on the left that aren't insane agree are bad, but then try to claim that's critical race theory. Yeah, Robin DiAngelo, awful piece of shit. Yeah.
If I've said it once, I've said it probably 50 other times. I hate it here.
So quirky.
Hi, my name is Sydney. Welcome back to the Thunderdome. And it wouldn't be the Thunderdome unless I was telling you that this video is sponsored by Ground News. So,
oh my god. That's it, chat. It's over. I'm going full shameless. All right, I'm embracing Twitch culture, and I'm just going full shameless, all right? I'm picking up every sponsor. I'm optimizing my sponsorships, okay, on my videos, so I've got, like, the most sponsorship money coming in as possible. I'm going to be fucking shilling out for donos and subs constantly. I'm going to be shouting out my merch constantly. I'm going to be playing ads constantly. We're going into the age of the grift now, okay? We're going, you know what? Guess what, too? All right? We're going full shameless. If conservatives can get away with it, I'm unbuttoning the top buttons, all right? Every donation, hold on. No, you haven't earned 2 buttons. Every $10 donation, I unbutton another button. That's how we're doing it. We're going full shameless, just like the conservative types do.
late, we've been hearing a lot about critical race theory. So much so that there are people who have entirely dedicated all of their time to keeping it out of schools, attempting to have it banned, and so on. At the same time,
Damn, wow, kind of sounds like maybe if you've got conservatives coming out en masse to try to ban teaching something in school, doesn't that kind of harken back to like banning the teaching of evolution in school, you know? The thing that conservatives used to make like a huge moral panic about in the 90s, because it really is just the new like evolution bad thing, right? Where back in like the 90s, the conservatives tried to ban students from being taught about evolution, and now it's critical race theory, because it always has to be fucking something. It always has to be something. Who is this? Joy Ann Reed, pro-democracy. This person's a lib, I can already tell. And with all of their mortal panic that white and non-white kids might discover that this country indeed has a violent history which explains a lot of our national pathologies, and yes, some heroic parts too, the critical race theory hysterics still can't even define what it is. True and based. Maybe this person is cool. Oh yeah, she's a lib? Not surprised. But libs aren't all bad. I like libs. Libs are actually pretty okay in the grand scheme of things. Let's be honest. Libs are all right, okay? As long as they're not like fucking Christie winners, you know, like that kind of lib makes me want to tear my eyeballs out, but you know.
I've seen plenty of blue check marks on Twitter argue that nobody can even define critical race theory. So how can we push back against something that nobody can even pin down? And let me tell you.
Please define critical race theory for me and have it be a definition that agrees with any of the examples that are ridiculous you're about to bring up.
Don't ask me. I'm always confused. But because many of
Just
these
give a
concepts and
definition.
ideas are quite flim-flammy and very difficult to wrap your head around, I thought it might be worth taking a look at what critical race theory actually looks like in practice in classrooms. Because I don't know about...
There you go. No, I won't give a definition of critical race theory, but what I will do is give a bunch of examples of bad things that everyone agrees is bad, call it critical race theory, and refuse to give an actual definition of it. Like I said, all critical race theory is acknowledging that there's it's a legal thing. It has to do with the law, analyzing how certain laws interact with particular groups of people on racial boundaries. Like, are black people more disenfranchised by this law? Are white people more benefited by this law, right? You know, like a good example of this, God, we need to do a whole segment on the drug war. Would you guys be interested in like a very dry, just analytical, educational segment on the drug war at some point? Because I really want to do that. Like, for example, let's go ahead and take a look at this. Let's go ahead and do a comparison here. So guys, crack cocaine is worse to have on you than powdered cocaine. This is one of the biggest examples to point to. Crack cocaine, well, also powdered cocaine is usually used by richer people, but powder cocaine is considered a gentleman's drug. And it is a lot less, like, you're less likely to get in trouble for it. I think like a gram, or like what it would be, like a gram of powder cocaine will get you in less trouble than a gram of crack cocaine. It's the same thing basically, but cheaper, and is mostly prominent among the black community. That is an example. The fact that you are punished harsher for possession of crack than for powdered coke is a good example of how black people are disenfranchised and harmed by laws that make absolutely no sense.
Not you guys, but creating victim groups, making white people the enemy, and so on, I don't like it. And I'm almost entirely sure that all of you are going to hate what you're about to watch. But before I make you cry inside, let's hear from our sponsor, Ground News. You consider yourself—
Oh my God, so shameless. Someone donate $10 so I can unbutton another fucking button. All right, let's go through the fucking sponsorship. Okay, where's the... Is this the sponsorship? Where's the sponsorship end? Okay, I think this is it.
And lied to, and a bag of sugar. Then click the link in the description and download the Ground News app for free. Do this, and somewhere, somehow, a journalist will grow a new brain cell. The concept of critical race theory seemed to come—
Do we call that one out, or do we just kind of like let it slide? So here's the thing. Conservatives are very anti-journalism and free press. This should be pretty obvious with how much Trump supporters were really big fans of Trump trying to expand libel laws so people could sue journalists. Now, don't get me wrong. Journalists lie about people and lie about certain things a lot. It's a thing that happens. Hell, that's what Andy Ngo's entire career is built on, you know? But there's a very fine line you have to walk. Because if you expand libel laws to the degree to which rich, powerful people that are doing shady shit can just sue a journalist for exposing them? Well, now the government has no one checking it. Corporations and rich, powerful people have no one checking them. It's really not good if you don't have investigative journalism being able to expose these people if they have the risk of being sued for libel because of expanding of libel laws. And of course, conservatives got a lot of skeletons in their closet, especially conservative politicians like Donald Trump. So that's why they want to expand those libel laws. Donald Trump wants him and other conservative, powerful people to be able to sue any journalist that tries to expose the terrible shit they've done. So yeah, that's why they make the jokes about journalists growing a brain cell and whatnot. They hate journalism. They hate free press.
Into public view towards the end of the Trump administration. In mid to late 2020, the administration announced that it would prohibit federal agencies from subjecting government employees to critical race theory or white privilege seminars. This came on the back of books like White Fragility, whose author, coincidentally, made this flyer for the National Museum of African...
There it is, dude. There it is. You guys know how every anti-SJW video for the last, almost 10 years now has used the same images of the same, it's always the same three or four things retreaded constantly. It's all conservative propaganda is. The helicopter joke, over and over and over again when talking about trans people. The Trigglypuff, the guy in the green jacket with the glasses screaming into the air, and Big Red for conservatives talking about SJWs. And now when it comes to critical race theory, which is another fucking issue they're going to harp on, it's going to be White Fragility, that one company seminar that said white people are evil, and then this. Yeah, it's going to be like 3 examples that don't even apply to the thing they're discussing. Because that's all conservatives have, retreading the same fucking talking points over and over and over again. God, being a conservative talking point, God, being a conservative commentator would be so fucking easy, dude. Imagine if I did this type of content, responding to, God, it would be huge if I did that. Too bad I have a soul.
American history and culture. According to this, white people have ingrained a good work ethic and following a rigid time schedule into society. Also being polite. And apparently we like steak and potatoes because bland is best.
Steak and potatoes
what?
are good.
I thought we liked mayonnaise.
Using mayonnaise in a lot of their recipes.
This sort of teaching is probably why so many overweight people claim that thinness is a white beauty standard and is in...
Oh, good lord. Oh, I'm gonna kill myself. Holy shit, thank you for the $25. That's a button gone, all right? Yeah, we're going to show the chest a little bit.
Inherently racist. A claim that I've seen time and time again, particularly on TikTok, which I feel like is the death of brain cells.
I think what's most scary is comments like these because people don't realize that fat phobia is rooted in racism and more specifically anti-blackness. And what happens if you don't meet the standard of beauty? You will face systemic oppression.
Let me assure you, this is not a beauty.
That person is 17 years old, okay? That person is 17, homie.
Standard. This is a not dying from heart disease standard.
Oh, notice, my lovely chat, notice, conservatives never tackle academic perspectives on any of these topics. Notice how all they're showing us are TikToks and Twitter posts. Nothing like, here, if we go to the definition of critical race theory, and see what critical race theory actually is a body of legal scholarship and an academic movement of civil rights scholars and activists in the United States that seeks to critically examine U.S. law as it intersects with issues of race in the U.S. and to challenge mainstream American liberal approaches to racial justice. That's what critical race theory is. However, we're just going to bring up videos of TikToks of 17-year-olds making TikToks and fucking Twitter posts from blue check marks that have no academic study
But what would I know? All in all, if you're looking for a more concrete definition of critical race theory, according to CNN, because we have to look to our leftist overlords to define their nonsense, critical race theory recognizes that systemic racism is part of American society and challenges the beliefs that allow it to flourish. Critical race theory is a practice. It's an approach to grappling with a history of white supremacy that rejects the belief that what's in the past is in the past, and that the laws and systems that grow from the past are detached from it. That sentence was flim-flam. But,
Oh my God, Sydney Watson, are you okay? Where do you have zero reading comprehension? Because I'm pretty sure a third grader could understand what that means. Here, let's go ahead and read this over and see what it means. Okay. Critical race theory recognizes that systemic racism is a part of American society and challenges the beliefs that allow it to flourish. Okay, makes pretty good sense. Systemic racism is the idea that our laws and other ingrained systems in our society enforce racism or have racist outcomes. And here's the quote that she claims is flim-flam, I guess. Critical race theory is a practice. It's an approach to grappling with a history of white supremacy, segregation, slavery, redlining, the drug war. I could go on. These are things that happened, unless Sydney Watson wants to claim that these things haven't happened. I wouldn't be surprised if she did. That rejects the belief that what's in the past is in the past. The idea that because segregation was 40, 50 years ago, maybe 60 at this point, doesn't mean the effects of that are totally gone. The idea that even though slavery was a few hundred years ago, doesn't mean the effects of that are completely gone. Because a lot of white people in this country, their history is, a good amount of them, at the very least, were allowed to own property, and in many cases, owned slaves or owned land, and had companies and businesses. Well, this is a thing that Black people just weren't allowed to do, realistically, up until redlining stopped being a thing, which was decades ago. So yeah, the idea is that Black people basically started about 500 feet back from the starting line in this country, and that the laws and systems that grow from that past are detached from it. This makes complete sense.
With a history of white supremacy that rejects the belief that what's in the past is in the past, and that the laws and systems that grow from the past are detached from it. That sentence was flim-flam, but I don't really know what else I expected. I guess your brain's too small, Sydney. When it comes to the discussion of race in classrooms, it appears that some state school curriculums go out of their way to highlight this kind of doctrine. That is, that white students, or white people, have some innate inbuilt privileges that other students don't have, or that non-whites are inherently held back. At the same time, plenty of teachers...
So let's say that in a way it's less loaded for an incoming, argument against a point that's not really being made. So critical race theory, or should I say more it's not even critical race theory they would be teaching in schools. It would be more so an accurate history lesson would teach that, Black people in this country, for the most part, have it worse than white people. If we look at history, makes complete sense. Slavery, redlining, segregation, all these things, the drug war, all these things exist and have existed and have resulted in Black people being held back in society compared to white people on average. That's all it is.
Teachers proudly display the things that they teach their students. Some even saying they'll find a way to teach about race even if there isn't an opportunity.
Wait, no shit. They're claiming Ruby Bridges as CRT? A story about school integration is now labeled CRT and off limits. A lot of people pretend they can't see what most of this is really about. God, I learned about Ruby Bridges when I was so young, I barely remember the fucking story. One of the good books she specifically referred to was Ruby Bridges Goes to School, written by Ruby Bridges herself. Bridges, when she was 6, was one of the first African-American students to integrate New Orleans' all-white public school system. Steenman said that the mention of a large crowd of angry white people who didn't want black children in a white school too harshly delineated between black and white people, and the book didn't offer redemption at its end. Oh my god! It's a true story, you fucking idiot! Oh god. So Ruby Bridges is now banned in Tennessee schools because they're banning CRT. So the true story about a black woman who was one of the first, if not, was just the first black child to be integrated into like the segregated schools. And the fact that the ending of the book wasn't, but in the end, all the white people were cool with it, and we all got along, and racism was no more, and the effects of racism no longer exist. Yes, Ruby Bridges needed to add in a bit at the end where all the white people were super accepting of her, when that was not what happened in the story at all. The white people were not happy to have a black girl in their school. No, 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 they were not. Real life doesn't usually have happy endings, especially when it comes to racism. Unless you're getting a really good massage. Those have happy endings.
Opportunity there. Let's take this example where this teacher answers how he would continue to teach critical race theory if it was ever banned in classrooms.
I would make sure that there were lots of works by people of color in the curriculum that I was teaching. I would make sure that we were having
another
conversations about the situations those people of color find themselves in and how things ended up that way. And we'll make sure that we would acknowledge that things aren't happening one person at a time, but there is, you know what I'm saying, that
the way this person talks makes me uncomfortable, if I'm being completely honest.
Going on. Yeah, absolutely what I would do. But, you know, I won't.
Stop.
Giving students the knowledge that systemic racism exists, well, that is the first step toward healing, which this country desperately needs. Please, Florida, let the teachers do their jobs.
I love this.
True.
A person who probably spends a lot of their time on the internet calling people who disagree with them bigots is saying that America needs to heal.
Humanity was a mistake. Let's just get real here.
Based
I don't know
PewDiePie meme, dog. Based PewDiePie meme. Hold on, is Sydney Watson a Nazi? I know PJW is, but hold on. Has she ever done any like weird JQ-y shit before? I'm really curious because I don't know that much about I don't know all that much about Sydney Watson. I don't know if she's like a conservative, like just a general traditional conservative, tradcon, neocon, alt-right, neo-Nazi. I don't know what her deal is. She probably chose those videos because the guys in them sounded flamboyant. Yeah, probably. I think she's just a white nationalist fasci type. Yeah, I'm not seeing anything come up about Jew stuff, so that's cool. Yeah, she hasn't JQ'd from what I can tell. Good.
This is just a Sydney thing, but I always feel like teachers, or at least these kind of teachers, have this weird savior complex that literally nobody asked for. Like, no one asked you to take up this mantle, my dude. This is just... Stop. I don't know. I guess I'm just of the opinion that we shouldn't, like...
Being a teacher is one of the most important jobs in the fucking world. What? They're teachers. They teach every generation of people. They give you your basic education. They teach you how to add and subtract and multiply. Shit that's like a basic and to read. It's a basic necessity you need to know to exist in this world. It's not a savior complex. It's called literally just having one of the most important jobs in the entire fucking world.
Government or teachers make decisions that parents could make themselves. This isn't hard. Stay away from molding and shaping my pudding person's brain. That's my job. Then there's this woman.
Oh my fucking god. This is so bizarre. Is she actually claiming it is not the job of teachers to mold the brains of their students? That's literally what it's supposed to be. I'm sorry, but the school system doesn't care, or at least shouldn't. I mean, Florida is a whole nother case, but in a school system that cares about reality, you know, generally these are in larger cities with more educated populace, and Democrat leadership. Education doesn't care about opinions, because guess what? Facts don't care about your feelings. They teach the truth, ideally, and that's it. If your parents don't believe in evolution, fuck you. You're still learning about evolution because it fucking happened. The evidence is there. We know evolution is real. We know evolution is real. And you're just going to have to get over that. It's being taught. Critical race theory is correct. It is accurate. It's going to be taught. You know, conservative states are going to push against it. They aren't going to win. The right always loses the culture war in the end. That's the thing you have to remember. As much as we fight against the right, it's because we all know in the end, at the end of the day, the right always loses. Every generation will be more progressive than the last. Society will always be more accepting of gay people than they were the previous decade. And trans people. Society will always be less racist. You'll get little snippets and little like spikes in reactionary populist beliefs, but it always dies out quickly. Every conservative populist wave is smaller than the last. And one day, conservatism won't really be a thing anymore. Conservatives will have no power. There'll be a day that'll come when we'll never have another Republican president. It'll be great.
Who says that if a student repeats something from their father or grandfather that smacks of white supremacy, which, I don't know, guys, at this point to these people could literally be anything. She says that's an opportunity to continue anti-racist teaching.
First of all, if what, especially grandpa or dad, said smacks of white supremacy or other prejudices or stereotypes, that's a very...
Does Sydney Watson think it's unrealistic for grandpa to say something racist? Because all I'm saying is I know a lot of people who will be, you know, where it's literally the meme like, listen, we don't talk about black people in front of grandpa at Thanksgiving dinner, you know? Isn't that like literally a fucking meme because of how common it is? Like, yeah, I mean, we love grandma, we love grandpa, but we don't talk about black people at the dinner at Thanksgiving because they'll say some things, you know, they'll say some things. You know, we just don't want to ruin dinner.
Very important opportunity for some work on anti-racism and some education on diversity training, even at the second grade level, I think.
These are definitely the people who would send us to the gulag. There are plenty of TikToks from teachers showing books they show their students. This one is an anti-racist picture book about whiteness that I probably can't show you because copyrighted music. We're talking about teachers who think Band-Aids are racist.
Oh, is it going to be because flesh-colored Band-Aids, as they're called, are white? Is that why? Like they match white skin? More TikToks, dude. Holy shit. This is exactly what I'm talking about. These conservative types are incapable of engaging with the actual definitions of what the things they're complaining about mean. They cannot engage with academia. They just can't.
White privilege. Whose flesh tone is this?
Racism! And then, I guess, not surprising to anyone, we end up with woke kindergarten, which coincidentally I found through these anti-racist teacher TikToks. So there's that. On their Facebook page, it says, woke kindergarten is a global abolitionist early learning community. All power to the little people. This page is anti-racist, pro-black, and liberatory. Abolish the police. All Black Lives Matter. What kindergartner needs to know about abolishing the police and capitalism? I don't mean to sound dramatic, but it is imperative.
Haha, based. Re-educating those little zoomers right out of the fucking womb. That's what I'm talking about. No, but like this is some just random fucking like daycare, it sounds like, that's completely voluntary. This isn't part of like a school curriculum. This is probably something that a very progressive parent would take their most likely very progressive kid to and pay money for voluntarily.
Tip that someone sends help. It looks like the main teacher, who literally used to teach kindergarten, is on the pronoun bandwagon. So that's fun. Again, not surprising to any of you, and sadly, many of these examples are fairly run-of-the-mill by today's...
This is like breakneck bullshit, dude. This is what I get worried about when this is the type of video that I worry about when I cover conservative content, is the breakneck bullshit type content. You know what I mean? Where something you'll find that's very common with conservative propaganda is it's easier to say something snappy, quick, short, and wrong than it is to come along as a left-leaning person and explain in detail how that is incorrect. It's a lot harder to do that. I'm starting off in like a behind the finish or behind the starting line here because Sydney Watson can just say, look at this ridiculous video here. Pronouns. Look at the pronoun bandwagon. Imagine having pronouns. I'm sorry. But no way am I dating a girl with pronouns, no matter what liberals say, okay? Yeah, goddamn pronoun users. I really think that I could get Sydney Watson in a debate to say that pronouns are like a new thing, and the left is trying to push pronouns on people. Yeah, the alt-right playbook video goes over this very well.
Standards. They're nothing that we haven't seen before.
Critical race theory is not teaching our white children that they are bad or racist. No, critical race theory is literally unwhitewashing our curriculum. It's teaching the history of this country, warts and all.
But what worries me more than TikTok teachers patting themselves on the back are the teachers conducting online seminars or participating in more official school videos that promote anti-white ideology. This teacher had his class line up and participate in a privilege walk. He asked them a series of questions about their privilege status and has them step forward or back depending on the answer.
Are there any white people in that crowd?
If you or your family ever inherited money or property.
That's really cool. Wait, okay, so for starters, this is actually really fucking cool. Oh my god. That's actually a really good way to teach this. Holy shit.
Their privilege status and has them step forward or back depending on the answer.
Step backwards. If you or your family ever inherited money or property, take a step forward.
Of course.
Money or property, take a step forward. If you come from a supportive family environment, take a step forward. If you were ever uncomfortable about a joke or statement you overheard.
This is literally something that we would do with other stuff in school too. Nah, privilege walks are cringe. I actually think this is really interesting. I think this is actually a really good way to teach this as long as everybody is honest. Like, okay, you've got like a classroom, right? Let's say, I would say like high school would be a good time to do this, right? Because it's an interesting thing to do, right? So listen to this, okay? So this is how I imagine it going, and I think it's a really interesting way to make it clear to people what the what the difference is, like, right? So for example, you take a classroom of, let's say, you got 10 white people, you got 10 white kids, 10 Asian kids, 10 black kids, right? You line them, you put everyone in a line and you ask, okay, so here's how we're going to talk about how racism and privilege work in here in America, right? Step forward if you or your family have inherited property. Chances are, a good amount of the white students would probably step forward. A lot less of the black students would probably step forward. That right there, then you go on to explain, did you know inheriting land or a house is one of the most effective ways to inherit wealth? Because that's true. If you're like 25 years old and your parents die of old age or whatever, and now you've inherited a house, it's pretty fucking significant, you know? That's a pretty big leg up in the world. You know what I mean? Wait, how common is it to inherit property? It's getting less common. As apartments and whatnot become more people live in apartments and condos and rent places rather than buying houses, it becomes less common because you have to own something to have it inherited.
Related to your race, ethnicity, gender, appearance, or sexual orientation, but felt unsafe to confront the situation, take a step backwards. If you're ever uncomfortable about a joke
The lads over at Myth Informed, who are actually friends of mine and they're really nice people, so if you are interested in what they're doing, I recommend going and chucking them a follow, have been exposing racist teaching practices for a little while. They've posted countless videos and watched hours and hours of online seminars, and I know this because they've told me this, from
Dude, conservatives really want to feel like victims, dude. It is wild. Do you guys remember 2016 when the conservative narrative is that the left want to play like victim Olympics, oppression Olympics or whatever? Now conservatives are doing exactly that because apparently white people are oppressed now.
Teachers and children discussing critical race theory. So most of the videos we're going to look at, I stole from them. This video from actually way back in 2012 discusses how kids are put into groups based on race and how they teach white students to be good allies to non-white students. What? So I don't actually know if I can show you the faces of the children in this video because they are actually quite young and YouTube might freak out, who knows. So I will probably just use the audio and link the video in the description if you want to see it yourself.
It's okay not to go to them, and it's also fun to go to them because if you go to them you can see other people from the same race, and if you don't go to them you can see the people.
Is Sydney Watson against the idea of teaching kids racism is bad? Like on a basic level, like not like obviously she's against like understanding history as it actually happened in this country. She wants people to be taught like a very whitewashed history, like America's the greatest. I mean, let's be real here. Every one of these conservative like fucking Britbongers, or we're calling them foreigners. Every one of these is fucking foreigner conservatives all wish they were American. They've all cucked themselves to America. They fucking love America. Do they think it's bad for the teacher to even say, hey, so I get that you're all like in kindergarten now, and you've probably, like some of you have probably never even met a black person before. Don't be mean to them because they look different. Because like, I don't think you guys realize, like if you're a kindergartner and you're white, it's very possible you've never like seen a black person before in real life. Like that's a thing that happens, especially depending on where you live. Like kindergarten might be a lot of kids' first time meeting another person who isn't the same skin color as them. I feel like it's probably pretty valuable to teach those kids what that means, like why there are other people that don't have the same skin color as them. Otherwise, they'd be kind of confused and might have a reaction that's a little unfavorable. You know? Like try to put yourself in that headspace, right? Like a 5-year-old white kid who's going to be out in like a big public place for the first time in a space where they're going to be talking to people, meeting a kid who isn't also white for the first time. It's probably pretty, like, you know, confusing for them, right? Should we not tell them, like, what's going on? Is Sydney Watson against that?
Go to the same race, that do the same, that have the same
Also, they're teaching why segregation is bad.
I think it is really important in CFS to have affinity groups because it makes people who were not treated equally at some point in history, recent history. And it makes them feel welcome, and it makes them feel like they have a place. And they can feel like they can be with other people of their own race. And
wait, is Sydney Watson lying here? The person literally just said this is why separating people out is bad. That's literally what the kid just said. Wait, is Sydney Watson just outright lying in the text here? Thinks that segregation based on race makes people feel welcome and feel like they have a place. He literally said not separating people based on race makes them feel like they're welcome and they're supposed to be here. Okay.
It makes them feel really good about themselves. And whenever I'm not part of any affinity group, but when I see them come back, they always look so happy.
This woman teaches her students about anti-racist theory. This teacher specifically teaches her students that the dominant culture is basically white people judging non-whites because of the color of their skin.
I want to help break down the idea that race is a scientific concept and coax out this idea that race has been constructed, and it has been constructed to keep one group in power over other people. what is the dominant culture? What does the dominant culture do?
They make people believe certain stereotypes about a certain group of people, not just
Okay, I don't care about this. I want to read the comments. Sydney Watson videos are unbearably boring because she doesn't really put forward a lot of argument. She just shows videos and expects her audience to respond with like, hey, those fucking libtards, bro. So yeah, let's go ahead and read the comments. They're literally teaching kids to judge and dislike each other based purely on the color of their skin. That's racist. Oh no. Knowing that racism exists and being against it is racist. And people wondered how Hitler could get teachers to push his ideas. Turns out it's pretty easy. Oh my God, this is bizarre. White people can't experience racism? That's not true. Except for having a nationwide curriculum which vilifies and dehumanizes them, even as children. Me arguing with far leftists about racism. Them, you're white, so you don't know how it feels. I'm actually half Mexican. Them, then you should be supporting me because you know that everyone hates people like us. Dude, what the heck is wrong with this country/world? What? I'd be more likely to believe that this person would be called an Uncle Tom than someone would say that to them. See, the argument is that we're not teaching critical race theory in class, and they are correct. They're applying it, which is even worse. What? They don't know what critical race theory is. What the fuck? My little cousin who's white was crying. I asked him what's wrong, and kids at school called him ugly because he's white, and his parents didn't say anything about it. And then everyone stood up and clapped. Imagine unironically segregating the races in school. You would have to be like a racist, assumably. Even North Korea isn't this nuts. You can't define critical race theory, so you can't ban it. How the hell are you able to teach it then? What? They're literally raising a generation of race-obsessed authoritarians. They're headed towards very dark times. Oh my God, these people feel like the world is ending. Jesus Christ. I guess when you're like a bunch of like teenage white people or like well-off white boomers and you don't really have all that much to deal with in life besides like you got to get rent paid, you got to pay the mortgage, the bills are due, but you're pretty well off, you know, so things are all right. You have to hunt down something that'll make you feel like is an enemy. Because they're so bored, they need something to fight. It's so fucking bizarre. Dude, I would love to debate Sydney Watson. Does she have a Twitter? She does have a Twitter. Let's see. Let's see if I can... Oh, her DMs are closed. I can't DM her. Damn. Well... I tried. After stream, maybe I'll make a post on Twitter publicly, and you guys can pump it, asking her to do a debate on, like, I don't know, critical race theory is a good topic. Just at her? Yeah, we'll do that after this. Anyway, if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like on it. If you're new, subscribe, and even if you aren't new, ring the goddamn bell icon so YouTube actually notifies you whenever I go live or upload a new video, because it won't do that otherwise. Also... and this is a big one. This is a big one. You guys got to do this. You can also follow me on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and all my other social media through links in the description, as well as joining my fan Discord, where we do regular watch parties, we hang out, we talk. It's a fun time. Definitely join it. Also, please support me if you can afford to financially. You can either donate, subscribe, or gift a sub on my website, xanderhall.com/live, super chat, or hit the join button to become a channel member on YouTube. Channel member is a lot like a subscription on Twitch, except it's on YouTube. And of course, on Twitch, you can subscribe, gift a sub, or even get a monthly free Prime sub with Twitch Prime, which comes with free with Amazon Prime. So yeah, make sure to do all those things. I appreciate your support. Thank you for watching, and have a good one.